Thank you, Mr. Chair and Ranking Member, for this hearing, and Mr. Secretary, thank you for being here today. And it was good to see you yesterday. And just to the point of needing more personnel trained up fast, I hope that the bill that the President signed into law yesterday that Senator Braun and I did will really get the VA much more proactive in recruiting healthcare workers from active duty members who are in their last year of service, who are already trained up by the United States military. Look, I want to talk a little bit about what's going on in New Hampshire. Obviously, support for our veterans is important in all of our states. In my state of New Hampshire, veterans make up more than 10% of our adult population, and the VA projects that the number of VA enrollees in New Hampshire will grow in the coming years. In previous testimony, you noted the need to modernize VA healthcare facilities. It's especially true in underserved areas like New Hampshire, one of the only states that lacks a full-service VA hospital. As a VA New Hampshire task force found in 2018, we need to improve specialty care services and facilities, establish an ambulatory surgical center, build a community living center, and improve parking to access these facilities. So, Mr. Secretary, I understand that the VA has internal decision-making processes, and you can't get out ahead of that in terms of making final decisions. But will you commit to working with my office on finding a path forward for these kinds of critical projects at VA facilities in New Hampshire?
Yeah, I will. And one, it was really good to see you yesterday too. I have to say, I much prefer visiting the White House rather than working there. And it was also nice to be there for signing into law of those bills, including yours, which is going to make a big difference for us. So that's one. Two, I make that commitment to you. Okay. Our teams have been working together on this, as we discussed yesterday. Importantly, if Build Back Better is enacted, there is $4.5 billion extra dollars for infrastructure there. Right. That will be managed through our internal processes, as you've just talked about. I'm also mindful of the fact that in the context of that, the New Hampshire projects will be obviously considered. There are two projects currently in early stages of planning, both in the area you talked about, ambulatory surgery and a parking garage. Analysis necessary to develop those projects is underway. The remaining two active minor construction projects are further ahead. That's one's at the Manchester VAMC.
Yep.
It's currently developing a minor construction project for a dedicated women's health clinic. Right. And this project is moving forward toward an early FY23 construction contract award. Additionally, a specialty care building is currently in design and is scheduled to be completed in the third quarter of 2022 and considered then in 2023 construction funding. So we'll stay on top of that. We'll keep an open door with you on that, as we do with everybody here, of course. But it will be pursuant to our internal processes. But the bottom line is, we work with you. My commitment on this is as rock solid as anything else on transparency and openness.
I appreciate that. And for our veterans who don't have a full-service VA hospital in their state, this is just really, really critical. Let me turn to another issue that I hear a lot about from New Hampshire veterans, and particularly New Hampshire National Guardsmen and reservists, who swear to defend the Constitution and this country just like their active duty counterparts, and deserve the same respect and recognition. So I introduced bipartisan legislation with Senator Shaheen, Kramer, and Hoeven to reform the Veterans Cemetery Grants Program to ensure that all members of reserve components and the National Guard are eligible to be buried in state veteran cemeteries. Veterans in my state strongly support this bill, as do national veteran service organizations. The last time you testified before this committee, you committed to working with my office on this legislation, and we've had good conversations. We've worked extensively with the VA, and in particular, the National Cemetery Administration, and I believe we've found a path forward. So just given the National Cemetery Administration's support for this legislation, will you commit to implementing it quickly once Congress is able to pass it into law?
Yeah, I mean, you raised this issue with me. I took it for action. Matt Quinn, who's the second best Montanan I know, took this on board, and he's worked it through. And so I think we're in a position we've enunciated our support for the provision, and we'll make sure it gets done.
Okay, thank you. And last thing, just because I'm just about out of time, I had questions on toxic exposure legislation, the TEAM Act that Senator Tillis and I have introduced, and we'll follow up on the record. I will just suggest that one of the provisions in there, which just is that the VA could develop a questionnaire that would help them identify veterans who've been exposed as part of the primary care interaction. I think could be something that the VA could implement without us necessarily passing it into law, and I think it would be a very important first step in really identifying those veterans who've been exposed and just integrating that into the quality care that you all are striving to provide.
The straightforward question, I think it does sound like something we could do, but I'll get you an answer on that.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you,
Thanks,
Mr.
Senator
Chair.
Hassan. Senator Tillis.